In a surprise turn of events, Tulsi Gabbard, the representative from Hawaii and potential 2020 presidential candidate, actually held a private meeting with Donald Trump, and many are now speculating whether or not Donald Trump will offer her a position in his cabinet. So the question now is whether or not she should actually accept that position. Well, I'll talk about that, but first let's get to the details. So, according to The Hill, Trump's chief strategist, white supremacist Steve Bannon, is reportedly a big fan of Gabbard because of her right-leaning stances on guns, refugees, and Islamic extremism. Now, other Republicans reportedly like her as well because she did not support the Democratic Party's attempt at gun control legislation, and she was also critical of President Obama for not using the terms, quote, Islamic extremism. Now, I disagree with her on these things, and I think that to not use the term Islamic extremism is really a benign omission, right? Because we all know that when terrorism happens, if it was in fact a Muslim that was radicalized, then yes, it is an act of Islamic extremism. But I don't get how that's going to defeat ISIS. They're not just going to vanish, poof, when you say those magical words. That's not the way this works. So I never got that criticism, and I'm surprised that she's actually taking this stance. But nonetheless, I mean, she is right on many other policy positions. Now, the question is, even though she endorsed Bernie Sanders, she voted for Hillary Clinton, so why the hell would she meet with Donald Trump? Well, I'll let her explain. So in a statement that she released, she says, President-elect Trump and I had a frank and positive conversation in which we discussed a variety of foreign policy issues in depth. I shared with him my grave concerns that escalating the war in Syria by implementing a so-called no-fly zone would be disastrous for the Syrian people, our country, and the world. It would lead to more death and suffering, exacerbate the refugee crisis, strengthen ISIS and Al-Qaeda, and bring us into a direct conflict with Russia, which could result in a nuclear war. We discussed my bill to end our country's illegal war to overthrow the Syrian government and the need to focus our precious resources on rebuilding our own country and on defeating Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and other terrorist groups who pose a threat to the American people. For years, the issue of ending interventionist regime change warfare has been one of my top priorities. This was the major reason why I ran for Congress, and I saw firsthand the cost of war and the lives lost due to the interventionist warmongering policies our country has pursued for far too long. Let me be clear, I will never allow partisanship to undermine our national security when the lives of countless people lay in the balance. Now, she claims that Donald Trump did not offer her a position, and that's not what they talked about. I don't buy it. Tulsi, you're not fooling anyone. That was obviously what you talked about. So, look, here's the thing. When it comes to whether or not Tulsi should accept this, I am relatively torn for two reasons. So one, I think that this would be a good thing if she did serve in his administration because she would be the only adult in the room. I want at least one sane person in Trump's cabinet, just one. And I'm crossing my fingers that Rand Paul or even Mitt Romney is appointed a position in his cabinet. But if Tulsi Gabbard can be appointed as Secretary of State or any position, I would breathe a little bit easier knowing that she's there and she's influencing Trump. Now, I'm also torn because it would almost certainly guarantee that Tulsi doesn't run in 2020 because she's going to have a vested interest in maintaining the current administration because that's who's given her a job. So, you win some, you lose some with this. Now, here's the thing. I made a mistake in thinking that by endorsing Bernie Sanders, Tulsi therefore endorsed all of Bernie Sanders' policy positions because when you really look at her policies, you have to be objective and call them out for what they are. They're not very progressive. So, for example, she's not in favor of a Medicare for all system. She was also another one that was late to the party when it comes to same-sex marriage. However, there is nuance. I mean, she supports marijuana legalization. She also wants to ban super PACs and move towards public financing. So she's not as progressive as Bernie Sanders, no. Here's the thing, though, about her running in 2020. I think that she can still win. Even if her policies aren't as progressive, she's charismatic enough to be an Obama type of figure. And if she at least puts forward one very progressive policy, like free college tuition, at the start of her campaign, and we really believe her that she's going to fight for that, I think she can win. And if she frankly just runs on banning super PACs alone and getting public finance elections, I think she could win, and I would absolutely support her in that scenario. So the takeaway is that I still very much like Tulsi Gabbard, but you can't agree with someone, and you won't agree with someone on 100% of the issues. I didn't agree with Bernie Sanders on everything. I didn't agree with Jill Stein on everything, and I certainly don't agree with Tulsi Gabbard or Keith Ellison or Jeff Merkley on every single policy issue. But she's not as damaged as Hillary Clinton was. So if she did run and she were the Democratic nominee in 2020, I would support her. However, if she is in Trump's cabinet position, that means she probably wouldn't run in 2020. So, look, she has a lot of time to build up her progressive record. She's coming out against the Dakota Access Pipeline. She's speaking out on behalf of water protectors. She stood up for Bernie Sanders when nobody had the guts to do that. So I think she's really building her reputation. And in the areas where she's more conservative, like on guns, I don't think that's going to be a bad thing in the general election. When it comes to Islamic extremism, I disagree with her on that stance. But I mean, look, I'll support her if she runs, depending on who else is running. But, I mean, if she's going to be in Trump's cabinet, I think this is a win-win for everyone because we need someone who is rational to be helping him make decisions because right now it's just a joke. Everyone in his cabinet is just, thus far that we know about anyways, are stupid. They're just stupid people. So we need Tulsi Gabbard to be there. So, look, I think that she will continue to be a prominent figure in American politics, and where she wants to go, it's up to her right now. I think that, the American people would be receptive to her if she decided to run a populist campaign. But, I mean, if she wanted to serve in Donald Trump's administration, that would damage her credibility among the left, I think. But at the same time, I don't know. It's a tough situation. But when it comes to the question as to whether or not she should accept the position if Trump offered it to her, yeah, I think that she should. I really want someone that's not a complete lunatic making decisions. And if she could influence Trump, again, it's a win for America.